The Prime Minister of England, what does he care about the Pope? In England, we're free of Catholicism. We're free of the Pope. Why should we worry? Even the English Prime Minister, William Ewart Gladstone, complained about the syllabus. What does it bother him? But oh no, it does bother. When the Pope speaks, even the Protestants have to listen. Even William Ewart Gladstone, the great Liberal Prime Minister, had to listen and had to say that he thought it was wrong. But the syllabus is, if you want to know, if you're reading a modern Catholic book, and you want to know whether it's Catholic or not, turn to the index and look up syllabus. If the author says the syllabus is excellent, is completely Catholic, it's 100% good, you've got a Catholic writer. But if the book says the syllabus, well, yes, it was very good in its time, but do you know Pope Pius IX is a little outdated, and since then we've moved on, and we've had Vatican II, and so you need to be understanding with these old-fashioned popes. You are not in the presence of a Catholic writer. Drop the book immediately and run a mile. It's a liberal. The test of whether something is Catholic or not is what happens, whether he understands, whether he agrees with, whether he accepts what the syllabus says or not. The syllabus is an acid test of Catholicism, ever since 1864. Pope Pius X chose the name Pius because of Pius IX. And Pius XI and Pius XII also meant to continue in that same line. You've got here the 8 eras listed on one side and the other of the same sheet. You've got 38 on one side and 42 on the other. And you've got the structure of the document. The errors are not just in disorder. You've got clearly that it begins with ideas. Secondly, he goes on to morals. The great part of the document is errors in morals. From 19 all the way down to 74 is errors in morals. And then you've got a conclusion, which is Pope of the Modern World, 75 to 80. I've read just a few of the classic errors. Classic either because they are central points of Catholicism, or because they are points of Catholicism that make the liberals squeal. So you should put sort of ribbons and flashing lights around some of these, because they really hurt the liberals. Those are the best of all. You've got ideas firstly, morals, and then a conclusion. Ideas are ideas of principle, if you like, theory, and then practice. Principle from 1 to 14, practice 15, 16, 17, 18, and notice that the liberals don't like the practical ideas. Then you've got when it comes to morals, you've got section 5 is the church rights being limited. This is pure Freemasonry. Nibbling away, diminishing, restricting, cutting down the rights of the church. And then you've got state rights unlimited. As the church is pushed back, the state is pushed forward. So you've got, if you like, the negative side in section 5, and then the positive side with the glorification of the state to take the church's place in section 6. Section 7, you've got errors on natural and Christian ethics. And then 8, a particular point, which was in all of the anti-liberal popes, all of the great popes of the 19th century had to defend marriage. Marriage is a very sensitive point. The other sensitive point is the celibacy of the priesthood. Gregory XVI said it already in 1832, defended those 2 points. Heretics will always attack on the celibacy, they will attack the celibacy of the priesthood, and they will encourage the priests to get married, and they will attack the sacramentality of marriage, and they will encourage Catholic marriages to get to Catholics to divorce. The Catholic Church always has to defend the celibacy of the priesthood and the sanctity of marriage. Then finally a conclusion which is mainly about the Pope and the modern world. Let's have a look at the ideas. Notice again, once more, how the popes start with the ideas, unlike the modern world. The modern world says ideas don't matter, let's just practice. Let's just practice friendship, modern ecumenism. Let's just all get together and love one another, love, 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 spelled, as I say, L-U-V, L-U-V, L-U-V. All you need is love. The Beatles, dying, dying, dying. All you need is love. Silliness of the modern world. You do not only need love, you need truth. Truth even before you need love. Because if you don't have truth, you're going to have false love. People today have false humanitarianism instead of, and therefore they have a false faith in humanity, which is humanitarianism, and therefore they have a false love, which is the falsification of charity. This false, sloppy, silly, love sinners even in their sins, and because of their sins, charity. That's not the love of God. The love of God is demanding, which is why people don't want the real love of God. They want a nice, slushy, chocolate human substitute. Let's just all swim in chocolate until we fall into hell. He divides the errors of the principle into absolute rationalism and moderate rationalism. Out and out, replacing of God by human reason, and half replacing of God by human reason. And the out and out is not necessarily worse than the half and half, because at least the out and out is clear. It's out in the open, it's clear. The half and half is one of these terrible pretended measures. It's more dangerous. The half and half can be more dangerous than the out and out. Pope Pius IX said at one point, he was not afraid of the enemies outside the church. What he was afraid of was the liberal Catholics inside the church. Because they're really liberals, but they pretend to be Catholics, they try to talk like Catholics, they worm around, but they're worming their way around. He was more afraid of the seeming Catholics than of the out-and-out non-Catholics. The absolute error against God. There is no God. Whatever is meant by God, in inverted commas, is nature evolving. God is within nature. Nature is God. Today's ecology. And that is evolving. Nature is evolving, therefore God is evolving. Therefore there's no stable God. There's no stable truth. There's no stable right and wrong. There is no stable good. There's no such thing as justice. You undermine God and you undermine everything. You undermine people's minds and you create exactly what you've got in today's modern world all around us. Secondly, if God does not exist, second error, God does not act. God does not act upon men or upon the world. Maybe he exists, the second error, but even if he exists, he doesn't act upon the world. He's left the world to get on with its own. It's the famous God clockmaker, who winds up the clock and then lets it run on its own. Error. God exists and God does act upon the world. He is acting constantly upon the world, in all places and all times. He is closer to ourselves. He is closer to us than we are to ourselves. He is within us and out us. He is everywhere. The parish priest of Pius X, when Pius was a little boy, learning the catechism, the parish priest once asked the boys, "Where is God?" And little Giuseppe Sarto stood up and said, "Father, where is he not?" Which is a smart answer, which is a good answer. Against God, against the supernatural. 3. Human reason is its own truth and law. Man's mind, reason, makes his own truth and law. And man's mind is enough to assure men's happiness. We do not need a God. We do not need his heaven to be happy. We can perfectly well do without God. We will make our own paradise on earth. Communism. Terrible error. All of these, remember, are errors. 4. All religious truths originate in reason. In other words, there's nothing above man. All religion comes from inside man. It comes from man's own mind, which can guide man to all truth. In other words, there is no truth which is above man. No, there's no such truth as a supernatural truth which needs to be revealed to man by God. In other words, you're denying the supernatural. The Trinity, that God is 3 in 1 and 1 in 3, is either it's not a religious truth or it's something that man invented of his own. It's not a truth outside of man revealed to man. It's an invention of man's own reason. Heresy. Heresy. Terrible heresy.